Hey, what's up guys? It's Jay with ShorePoint Creations. On this video, we're going to be talking about a flush trim V-groove router bit. Now with this router bit, not only can we make our edges and our faces flush to each other, but we can also add a nice little accent to your project at the same time. Check it out. Today we're talking about a flush trim V-groove router bit, and now the anatomy of the flush trim V-groove bit is a lot like a standard flush trim bit. Now here's a standard flush trim bit. You've got your bearing and you've got your cutters, and this bearing is in parallel with the cutters, so that whatever surface this bearing is riding against, these cutters will cut the extending surface of your project that you want trimmed to be in parallel with whatever surface this bearing's riding on. Now with a flush trim V-groove router bit, that's what this is here, you have your cutters like you do on a standard flush trim bit, you have your bearing, but now you have a V cutter added, and that V cutter leaves a nice V groove as you go along, making the faces in parallel with each other. You get a nice accented V groove throughout your project. So what I like to do is I like to take this V groove bit, I still put the bearing on the face that I want to use as my template, but then I put the V groove actually on the joint line, and I make the joint line a V groove and a nice accent. All right, I'm gonna show you what we mean. We're gonna throw this bit in the router table, take a look and see exactly what this router bit can do. So let's begin by chucking up the router bit in our router. What we wanna do is we wanna make sure that the router bit is not bottomed out. Usually router bits will have a minimum insertion line. Go ahead, put it in, tighten it up. Remember, you don't have to kill these. Put it on your throat plate. Tighten that down. Okay. Now let's lower our router bit until we get it to the height where the bearing will ride on our template and our V cutter is where we want our accented V groove. Now like I said, I'm going to make mine so that it's right on the joint line. So now this height here will allow my bearing to ride on the face I'm using as a template, my V cutter to cut my accent V groove in the joint line, and then my flush trim cutters here to cut back the surface that's proud of this face right here. So I've set my router fence. Now you can do this without the router fence because you need it to ride against the bearing, but just to help us out, what I do, so I set my router fence so that the bit is sticking out further than the fence, so that I have to ride against that bearing when I come around, and that will ensure that the bearing rides against this surface and therefore making this trim and flush with the surface I'm using as my template. All right, after a single pass on the router table, we now have our surfaces flush with each other. And we do have our decorative V groove going down the length of the project. It's very straightforward, very simple procedure. One bit does it all. So I will leave a link to this bit in the description below. It's from CMT. It's a really, really great bit. Keep in mind, I'll put a link for the 1/2" version like this and the 1/4" shank also. If you guys like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this video with a woodworking friend of yours. I truly appreciate everything, guys, and I'll catch you next time.